Hello. Today we are talking about two other important issues of effective teaching. They are scaffolding. The Ukrainian word for this would be opory, and language awareness. In Ukrainian it could be translated as розуміння мови, мовна обізнаність, and so on. In general, scaffolding is considered to be a very effective way of teaching at any age. Scaffolding is any kind of a tool that helps children retell the text, remember something. Usually for scaffolding we use the same things that we use for pictograms. They would be pictures, different kinds of maps, schemes, but also scaffolding includes such things as tables, even making the lists can be considered scaffolding. What kind of scaffolding do we use in Interclass? I have already mentioned that we use the simplest way of scaffolding. They are giving particular shapes to different parts of speech and also to different parts of the sentence. A bubble is a subject or means a person, an arrow is a predicate or a verb, a rectangle is an object, and also they would be all secondary parts of speech, adverbial modifiers and adjectives. One rule that is important for using such shapes: they have to have different colors. Coloring helps children understand and adds more meaning to the scaffolding technique. In general, I would suggest three main rules for scaffolding. These are the rules that we use in Interclass. Scaffolding has to be simple, like this. There has not to be more schemes than those schemes. It has to be consistent, meaning that all the time we use the same types of shapes, and scaffolding has to develop language awareness. We'll talk about language awareness more now. So what is language awareness? Language awareness means that people understand more about the language than just making sentences. They are aware of what we call grammar, but it's not a grammar translation method. Language awareness is understanding about the language and being able to explain what it means. If students are aware of the language, they usually can explain some language notions, and they can easily compare these language notions to the notions in their own language. In our understanding, or as we see it in Interclass, language awareness is built on the understanding of the English verb. The English verb, and you probably noticed it in teaching, is rather difficult for the students not only to understand but also to use, because there are more tenses than we have in Ukrainian, and also such verb forms as gerunds and infinitives. Like gerunds do not exist in Ukrainian, infinitives are used differently, so they create certain difficulties for the students. Now I will describe more, or I will tell more about developing language awareness. So this schema illustrates how we develop language awareness in students. There are the verbs. To illustrate, V2 or past simple, illustrated, and V3 or past participle, illustrated. Usually we tell them illustrated means иллюстрованный, that there was the action that happened on the person, that was made over somebody. So illustrating, the verb plus ing, also looks like an adjective when it means ілюструючий, то, що ілюструє. So they both of these verbs, they may have the meaning of adjectives, and also illustrative is an adjective which doesn't derive from the verb endings. It just needs the ending IVE. Also, from the verb to illustrate, we can derive a couple of other words. They are illustrator, a person, then illustrator, a tool. You see that the person is in a bubble or in an oval, and a tool as a thing is in a rectangular. So then illustrativity as a noun and illustration as a noun. If we examine all these three nouns, we'll see that the endings are given in red. And gerund, which also can be compared to a noun, so illustrating, like що, ілюстрування. If we look at this map in general, we'll see that everywhere the verb roots are underlined. So, when students work with other maps later, they will also pay attention to their underlined roots of the verb. And that is how they will develop word families. So, today we talked about two important elements of effective teaching. They are scaffolding and language awareness. Scaffolding, which we make really simple, should be used consistently and has to develop language awareness. Language awareness is not just the learning of rules. Thus is the understanding of the language and playing with it. So we develop language awareness with the help of such scheme, which tells a lot about the English world. That's all for today. Watch us next week.